we're losing identity of our country, and somebody needs to stand up and fight for it.
We just want to protect our community and our country.
You will have Elon Musk say, well, he's a champion of free speech. I just don't buy that.
In the past, we've done a lot better on Twitter, but it has really gone down.
The huge crowds in Westminster didn't turn out just for Tommy Robinson. They were also chanting someone else's name. Elon Musk joining in from America, one of the most influential and controversial figures in global tech, business and politics.
Whether you choose violence or not, violence is coming to you. You either fight back or you die.
Musk's speech at the rally was live-streamed on X, his social media platform, an alternative universe of posts and identities. A platform he's been using to attack British politicians and to pass judgment on issues affecting the UK, especially immigration and grooming or rape gangs. Those posts have earned hundreds of thousands of likes and interactions. Musk bought Twitter in 2022 in order to wipe out what he described as the woke mind virus influencing Western politics.
If you open the app on your phone and you immediately see a news agenda, maybe filled with more hate towards certain groups, it's going to have an impact.
He renamed it X, he got rid of the content moderation teams, and he promised to turn it into a free speech platform. So you'd probably expect to see a lot more right-leaning content as a result of all of that. But how do you actually measure that? Well, it's been impossible for a whole host of reasons for a long time. That is, until now. Central London, September 2025. 150,000 people marched shoulder to shoulder to Westminster as part of Tommy Robinson's Unite the Kingdom rally.
Here at the front of March, Tommy Robinson's just there, thick throng of security, heavily protected, giving a lot of cheers, a lot of waves. This march extends a very, very long way behind us. A huge number of people who've turned out today behind that man, Tommy Robinson.
I've been following the rise of the right for some time now, how its online networks translate to real-world action.
There's a lot of police here. It's a huge policing operation. This is the hotel at the centre of it, which has seen a series of protests.
And the protest in September was hardly a standalone event. It was the crest of a wave that had been surging ever higher. Only weeks earlier, we'd stood outside the Britannia Hotel in Canary Wharf as protesters squared up to each other on the topic of illegal immigration and asylum hotels.
Refugees not welcome here! Refugees not welcome here!
Whatever your opinion on the ground, you're able to voice it. But as well as shouting, people are tweeting too. And on X, they're saying something different.
General impressions are one thing, but we needed to go beyond that. To uncover real evidence about whether there's a shift on X and what's driving it, Sky's Data and Forensics Unit set up a massive months-long experiment.
We want these accounts to kind of emulate the most average X user as possible, apart from who they follow, because that's what allows them to emulate a certain political leaning.
We set up 9 new box-fresh accounts on X and left them to run so we could get a clearer picture of how the X algorithm was working. Between them, our new X users saw nearly 90,000 posts we save for analysis.
We're talking about a vast amount of data, a vast amount of work that your team has done.
We teamed up with data analysts to train a large language model, an AI tool, to sift through the posts and categorize their authors into left or right and whether those posts were extreme. In other words, authors whose posts included toxic language, endorsement of violence or conspiracy theories, something that happens on both the left and the right of the political spectrum. Each of our clean accounts emulated British people with different political leanings. 3 on the left, 3 on the right, and 3 in the middle, following more neutral accounts like sports or music. But the result was that every account, no matter their political orientation, was fed a glut of right-wing content. Musk's own posts dominated their feeds, but the politicians he backed were also amplified, and outrage was prioritised. This isn't just biased, it's algorithmic amplification, and it's reshaping the political conversations in Britain. Over 2 weeks, we collected 300 posts per account twice a day, around 90,000 posts from nearly 22,000 accounts. We used the LLM, that AI tool, to categorise the political leaning of 6,000 accounts, those whose posts showed up most frequently in our data. We then narrowed it down to 2,500, focusing only on those accounts that posted about politics. And what we found was that, across the board, right-wing content was shown much more often to our X users, regardless of their political leaning. It represented 62% of all content served up, here in pink. Let's break that down. Remember our left-wing users. This shows what they saw on the platform, and more than 40% came from right-wing accounts. Compare that to our right-wing users, and look, they saw much less left-wing content and a lot of right-wing content. And then the neutral users, who we designed not to show any interest in politics. They saw twice as much right-wing content in the pink here than they did left-wing in yellow. Experts like Jen Golbeck, an American researcher who studies social media and extremism, says the fact that the X algorithm was feeding our new users content that they weren't necessarily interested in seeing suggests something else is at play.
There are ways that we would expect a neutral algorithm to behave. You set up a new account, you follow certain people, and those follows are reflective potentially of your political leanings. And if you don't see that in an experiment, then there's a suggestion that for one reason or another, there's something else at play that's prioritizing showing certain political views.
So we decided to measure how often the different accounts that cropped up in our dataset used extreme language. And we found that around half of the posts came from accounts that did use that language. Of the accounts that used extreme language, we found that around a quarter of the posts came from accounts on the left of the political spectrum, while 72% of posts came from right-leaning accounts. That suggests that the algorithm is more likely to promote extreme language from those on the right.
Since Elon Musk took over X, there's an opening up of the algorithm towards more extreme contents, and at the same time, more progressive accounts have left the platform. What we see in X in 2025 is that there's no equivalent voice to counter political spectrum sides. They've left a vacuum of communication, and now there is no one to push back on some of these disinformation narratives which can get out of the gate extremely quickly. The fact that this research has shown there is no equivalence between what gets served to the right of the political spectrum and the left of the political spectrum, that suggests an algorithmic bias. And an algorithmic bias must be decided by senior people at the channel.
And that's a huge concern for many centrist and left-leaning politicians in the UK, right to the very top of government.
I can sum up the threat for you in 2 words: Elon Musk. He thinks he can tell us how to run Britain.
Well, our findings suggest they're right to be worried. I spoke to Liberal Democrat leader Ed Davey, who's been leading a campaign against Musk's interference in British politics.
I think, what we're seeing there is something we've never seen before. The extremes on both sides, on right and left, the divisiveness of it that is being pushed by Elon Musk and X has never ever happened before. I think these findings confirm what a lot of us feared and suspected from our own feeds but couldn't prove. So really amazing piece of research, and the way it's so academic and so well founded is a major contribution to the debate that I think we have to have.
We know that Elon Musk, when he bought it, he was talking about eliminating the woke mind virus, but that emphasis on boosting right-wing content, what do you make of that?
It's almost as if X seeks to divide us as a country, divide us to the extremes, and that is deeply unhealthy and wrong, frankly. And you will have Elon Musk say, well, he's a champion of free speech. I just don't buy that. I think he's a champion of free speech that he agrees with, and he's interfering in the free speech of our country, and that's why I think we should get a lot more serious and try to push back very hard.
What Davey describes as interference isn't down to just the algorithm. Musk, who also happens to be the most followed account on X, has an outsized influence on the posts that users see in other ways. Generally speaking, you'd expect people who posted more to show up in the feeds of our new X users more often. And you'd largely be right. Rishi Sunak, down here, doesn't post a great deal, and he's almost down in the bottom corner. Keir Starmer posts a bit more, and was shown more often to our accounts than the former PM. But there's an outlier. Left-wing former MP George Galloway posts a lot, but the share of his posts in our feeds is next to zero. And Rupert Lowe, an independent MP who left Reform to start his own right-wing party after falling out with Nigel Farage, doesn't post that much. But our account saw a huge number of his posts by comparison. There could be lots of reasons for this, but one thing we noticed: Elon Musk's support doesn't hurt. Each of these bars represents a post from Lowe that got retweeted by Elon Musk. Engagement, that's the number of interactions a post receives, for the majority is in the tens of thousands. But it's this dotted line that tells us everything. It shows us the average engagement Lowe would have got without a boost from Musk. Lowe told Sky News, "Even a dinosaur like me understands that if content is engaging and popular, it receives more attention in the algorithm. There is no conspiracy. It just turns out that British people enjoy some straight talking from a politician for a change. Mass deportations are popular, and the algorithm picks up on that and rewards it." Ben Habib was the deputy leader of Reform. He also left after falling out with Nigel Farage. In June, he created his own political movement called Advance UK. He's been publicly endorsed by the likes of Tommy Robinson and Elon Musk.
Hi, Ben. Hi, sorry about
They say they've gained 37,000 members since they launched. So I went to meet him to learn how much of that success was owed to Musk and X.
It's definitely changed, undoubtedly changed. But certainly we're getting, much more traction on X than we did before. Mainstream media doesn't give us the airtime that we would like. And we've now got 37,000 members, driven completely through X and through podcasts and YouTube, social media. So when people say X isn't the real world, of course, two-dimensionally it isn't, but it does connect you to the real world and it does have real world impact.
So if you're one of Musk's chosen politicians, the algorithm and his endorsements will boost you. If you're not, they won't. Samira Ali is one of the organisers of Stand Up to Racism, a pro-immigration group we met at the protest in London. A lot of their X account is made up of posts advertising anti-fascist rallies and counter-protests and marches organised by the right.
That was a random woman who wanted to speak at the demo.
And she says their engagement on X has fallen off a cliff in the last few years.
In the past, we've done a lot better on Twitter, but it has really gone down. Even when we post the far right is what goes viral.
Really?
Yeah, from a Tommy Robinson demo, them chanting something heinous, like people that will go viral. Obviously, the algorithm picks up the far right stuff more than ours.
Bruce Daisley was in charge of Twitter for Europe, the Middle East and Africa before Musk bought the platform. He says this trend on X is having a real-world impact.
What does Elon Musk's control of Twitter mean for British democracy? Just in terms of the platform, the politics on it, what seems to be pushing more of right-wing narratives, according to our data that we found.
If you open the app on your phone and you immediately see a news agenda that maybe feels more adversarial, maybe filled with more hate towards certain groups, it's going to have an impact. And that's not to say that free speech can't exist, but if 8 million people every day are opening their phones to see a news agenda that maybe is right to the fringes of what we're used to, at the very least, we should have some visibility of the impact that's going to have on politics.
One of the big decisions that Musk took was to reinstate Tommy Robinson's account on the platform, something Robinson said he was grateful for. It's allowed him to build a huge audience on X. In July, he posted his own analytics, showing tens of millions of views in just 1 week. He turned that digital audience into boots on the ground with the Unite the Kingdom rally, and again thanked Musk.
Thank you to Elon Musk, man. What a moment. What a moment. I've got 20 minutes out of Elon Musk's time. He gave that time to you, the British public.
The appreciation is mutual. Musk reposted that thank you and went on to say that with the threat of illegal immigration, it was time for the English to ally with the hard men like Tommy Robinson.
He's sort of gone beyond the traditional party politics. We need to consider whether we want our politics to be controlled and influenced by that.
We put all our findings to X. A spokesperson said, X is dedicated to fostering an open, unbiased public conversation, and we want our users For You timeline to deliver relevant and diverse content. Key to this mission is our commitment to unprecedented transparency across X, from being the first to publish our recommendation algorithm and open source the code that powers it, to creating the first fully AI-powered algorithm, which Elon Musk has promised by the end of the year. The spokesperson added that community notes allow X users to collaboratively add context to potentially misleading posts and supports the work of our safety team to combat misinformation, ensuring accountability and trust for all our users.
In a perfect world, our social media feeds would show content from accounts we followed, sorted and ordered by an impartial algorithm. But our research has shown that is not the case. It's influencing what people are shown, what they believe. Some accounts, the narratives they promote, are favoured, even boosted. If Elon Musk is able to shape political debate and decisions just by tweaking some source code, well then the digital town square has really become private property.
Fundamentally, months of investigation and hundreds of thousands of data points come down to one man, Elon Musk, and his influence through X. What does it mean for our politics when the world's richest man not only weighs in personally, but reshapes an entire social network to suit his own worldview, to actively promote it? X told us their algorithm will be fully AI-powered, to deliver unbiased free speech. But ultimately, it is Musk who controls what's really free.